Hi, I'm Lucky Dube. Welcome to Reggae Strong once again.
When we talk about South African legends, few names shine brighter than Lucky Philip Dube. His story is not just about music, but about legacy, wealth, and a family that inherited more than just money. They inherited a financial empire built on sound, soul, and struggle. Lucky Dube wasn't just a singer. He was a voice for the voiceless, a man who stood against apartheid, against injustice, and for unity. But what many people don't realize is that when Lucky Dube died in 2007, he left behind a fortune so big and so powerful that it continues to provide for his family nearly 2 decades later. Today, we dive deep into that story, the story of how Lucky Dube left behind not just music, but a financial inheritance so massive that it turned his family into millionaires. Lucky Philip Dube was born on 3rd August 1964 in Ermelo, Mpumalanga. His name, Lucky, was given to him by his mother Sarah, who saw his birth as a blessing after several failed pregnancies. He grew up in poverty, raised mainly by his grandmother Sarah, while his mother worked as a domestic helper. He was never born into riches, never handed success on a silver platter. He worked as a gardener before his music career even started. But from the moment he joined his cousin's band, the Love Brothers, and began experimenting with Zulu pop known as Mbaqanga, something inside him stirred. Eventually he discovered reggae, inspired by greats like Peter Tosh and Bob Marley. And in apartheid South Africa, a country divided, violent, and unjust, Lucky Dube's reggae wasn't just music, it was a weapon, a force for change. Lucky Dube's success wasn't accidental. Over a career spanning 25 years, he recorded 22 albums. That's almost an album every single year, an incredible body of work that laid the foundation of his fortune. His early reggae breakthrough, Think About the Children, became the first gold album by a South African reggae artist. But that was just the beginning. Albums like Prisoner House of Exile and Victims sold phenomenally well. One of his biggest triumphs was Victims 1993, which sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Imagine that, 1 million copies in an era before streaming, when music sales meant physical purchases. And it wasn't just South Africa. Lucky Dube became the best-selling African reggae artist of all time. His global record sales earned him the title of best-selling African musician at the 1996 World Music Awards. Add to that a relentless touring schedule, concerts across Africa, Europe, the Americas, and you begin to see how his fortune was built. At the time of his death in 2007, Lucky Dube was reported to have a net worth of over $1.5 million. Converted into South African rands, that's around 28 million rands at the time. Now, 28 million rand is a huge amount. But here's the catch, it doesn't even come close to the real wealth Lucky Dube created. That number likely reflected his cash on hand, liquid assets, and bank accounts. But the true crown jewel of his fortune wasn't money in the bank, it was his intellectual property. Lucky Dube's catalogue of 22 albums is the real engine of his family's wealth. His copyrights, master recordings, publishing rights, and licensing agreements form a perpetual revenue stream. Think about it. Every time his songs are streamed on Spotify or Apple Music, every time they play on the radio, every time they're used in films, commercials, or tribute shows, money flows into the estate. This is the kind of wealth that doesn't run out, it keeps growing. In fact, Lucky Dube's estate was even used as an example in debates around South Africa's Copyright Amendment Bill, which at one point proposed that the state should take over an artist's intellectual property after their death. If that law had passed, Lucky Dube's family could have lost everything. The government would have inherited his music, and all the royalties would have gone into state coffers. Fortunately, the law was declared unconstitutional, and today his family still controls his music. That control is worth far more than the 28 million rand reported when he died, because intellectual property generates income for decades, especially since copyright in South Africa lasts for life plus 50 years. Interestingly, despite his massive success, there are no clear public records of Lucky Dube owning huge real estate portfolios or flashy investment companies. Searches for Lucky Dube properties often lead to tributes, like a street named after him, or unrelated companies. This shows that his real wealth wasn't tied up in land or flashy cars, it was tied up in his music. Lucky Dube's estate didn't disappear. It went directly to his family, his wife, and 7 children. Reports name his wife as either Thobekile Nkobo or Zanele Mdluli, depending on the source. Regardless of the name discrepancies, she was recognized as his widow and legal heir. His children, 7 in total, inherited alongside her. Among them, some have stepped into the public eye. Thokozani Dube, his eldest son, was present in the car the night his father was murdered. Since then, he has spoken in documentaries and represented the family during court trials. Ankule Dube, his daughter, followed in his footsteps musically. She performs reggae and has toured the world in tribute to her father, keeping his message alive. Nonkululeko Dube, another daughter, was also present during the tragic night of his death. Here's where the story gets truly remarkable. Unlike many celebrity families who fight bitterly over estates, the Dube family stayed united. They created something powerful, the Lucky Dube Legacy Company. This company manages everything: his royalties, licensing deals, tribute tours, marketing, and brand preservation. Instead of splitting money into little pieces, the family chose to act like a business unit, protecting the value of Lucky's music and ensuring it continues to grow. This is rare. Many estates collapse because of family greed or mismanagement, but Lucky Dube's family turned his name into an organized business. And because of that, his children and wife remain financially secure nearly 2 decades later. One of the most surprising parts of Lucky Dube's estate is that there were no public disputes. Think about it. How many times have we seen the estates of legends turn into battlegrounds? From Michael Jackson to Prince, the fights are usually ugly, but with Lucky Dube, it was different. His family's unity, their respect for his work, and the structure of the legacy company prevented chaos. Instead of fighting in court, they focused on 2 things: seeking justice for his murder and protecting his music. The biggest threat to their inheritance didn't come from within the family. It came from outside, through the Copyright Amendment Bill. Had that law gone through, it would have stripped his family of royalties. All the money from his music would have gone to the state. Critics called the bill utterly stupid and criminal, saying it violated international copyright agreements. Lucky Dube's estate was used as a prime example of why such a law would be destructive. Thankfully, the law failed, and his family still controls his legacy today. So, let's put this in perspective. At his death, Lucky Dube had about 28 million rand in liquid net worth. But since then, his estate has continued to generate money from royalties, streaming, licensing, and tours. With over 22 albums, continuous streaming on platforms worldwide, tribute concerts, and merchandise, it's safe to say the family has earned far more than that initial 28 million rand over the years. In fact, if we estimate even modest annual royalties from global streaming and licensing, the estate could easily bring in millions of rands every single year. That means today, his family could very well be worth hundreds of millions of rands thanks to his music. But Lucky Dube's fortune isn't just about rands and cents. His children inherited money, yes, but they also inherited his mission. His voice against crime, injustice, and apartheid still echoes across the world. His daughter Nkuli carries that message in her music. His son Thokozani carries it in his public appearances. And together, through the Lucky Dube Legacy Company, the family ensures that his music continues to spread peace and unity. The story of Lucky Dube's estate is not just about wealth, it's about how to protect wealth. His family avoided the pitfalls of greed and division. They turned his legacy into a business that continues to thrive. Lucky Dube may have been taken away in the most tragic way possible, murdered during a senseless carjacking in 2007, but his voice was never silenced. His music continues to generate income, his message continues to inspire, and his family continues to prosper. In life, Lucky Dube sang against injustice. In death, his legacy became proof that true wealth doesn't die, it multiplies. Lucky Dube didn't just leave his family rich. He left them a fortune so powerful that it will continue to grow for generations to come.